Hello there. So Labour is going ahead with these council reorganisations, and the political party most badly affected by them will be Reform UK. And a lot of people will be claiming that Keir Starmer and his Labour Party have gone all dictatorial and undemocratic on them by stopping elections for 5.5 million people before amalgamating councils into larger, allegedly money-saving organisations. So what do you think about that, Richard?
Did you just say dictatorial then, Jeff?
Yes, that's what some people are saying.
Well, that would imply that Keir Starmer is a dictator. And he's not a dictator. He's a very nice man. We all know that. Yeah, we all love Keir Starmer. Look, he's not a dictator because he doesn't do anything that a dictator would do, does he? Can you think of anything that he is doing that a dictator would do? Because I can't. No, absolutely not. Don't even think it. Because if he was a dictator, that would mean things like, people might be starting to say that there's no moral obligation to pay your taxes anymore. There's no moral obligation to obey the law anymore if you're living under a dictatorship and not in a democracy. This is not what you signed up for. I mean, I've even heard people say that if he's a dictator, or rather, the concept of a dictatorship means that there's almost a moral obligation to actually cause some kind of uprising. So, no, he's not a dictator, Jeff. Don't be so stupid. Yes.
Well, I don't know where this is going because they're going to amalgamate councils into huge super councils. And each new super council area will have its own metro mayor. So you're going to have far fewer councils, with each one of them headed by an extremely powerful bureaucrat. With Reform UK looking to be the loser out of this reorganisation, as they will have no early chance of exercising the muscles of their new poll lead in the upcoming local elections, because in the areas they stand most chance of winning in, the elections have been scrapped. And I've got a few things to say about all of this, but what do you think about the elections being scrapped?
Oh, it's just normal procedure, isn't it? Yes, I can think of lots of occasions when elections have been scrapped, like okay, I can't think of any, not off the top of my head anyway, but it's all normal procedure. And Reform, Nigel Farage and all the rest of them, they're all being just paranoid because we all know that this is a regular occurrence. Jeff.
Well, actually, it has been a regular occurrence, believe it or not, because the Tories were at this reorganisation as well. They were busy scrapping smaller councils. They did it in my local area and delayed elections by a year so they could achieve it, if my memory serves me correctly. And then they pretend these huge new super councils they forced on us were saving us money and were much more democratic, because instead of having a democratic centre close to you, it was further away from you. You see what I mean? Yeah. So what do you think about that? Moving big democratic centres further away from the people. So they can't just walk down the road or go to the next town. They might actually have to go to the next city.
Jeff, it's completely normal. Okay, and it's good and democratic to remove democratic accountability. That is good democracy. To push democracy further away from people is good democracy. I mean, the more people you have together, the more good ideas people have. All people all bundled into, groups of people all voting in. It gives better mandates, doesn't it? Yes.
Yes, Richard, I know you're trying extremely hard to make a case, but I'll ask you, how much more is your council tax bill today than it was previously a few years ago? And do you think you get more or fewer services for that extra dosh right now? What do you think, Richard?
Look, Jeff, so going from weekly bin collections to once every 3 weeks, it's good for the environment. When those bins are flapping open and there's all going all around the countryside. It's good for the environment. It trains the rabbits, I'll have you know. It trains the rabbits to be able to avoid, if there's an invasion of crisp packets, they now know how to deal with that.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
We're getting far, but the potholes in the road, it's good exercise for us, okay? Because, if you're walking along and you see a pothole, you have to jump to the side. Oh, look, that's an extra few calories. This is all great thinking. Fantastic minds. Yeah, incredible.
I went over several potholes on my trip to London at the weekend. I drove partway into London and parked there before going in on the tube the rest of the way. And the number of potholes is getting worse and worse and worse. And right now we're facing 10% rises in council tax bills. Some of us 5%. And I don't see it getting any better at the moment. And thanks, Idofla, for 2 contributions. Good afternoon, gents. Are you both doing well? If I can just press it. Yeah, there you go. Are you both doing well? And he also says, my Surrey County Council don't even empty my assisted bin. Right, okay, so they don't. This is just ridiculous, really, isn't it? You're going to pay more and you're going to get less. But this is the way that politics and councils and central politics, doesn't matter what it is, you just keep paying for more to get less out. It's almost like they've got a whole lot of influx of people coming into the country, huge numbers of people that are coming in that need to be housed for free at extra cost to us so we get less. But that, of course, can't be happening, can it, ladies and gentlemen?
No, that's absolutely ridiculous. People wouldn't put up with that. They'd be on the, streets. They'd be, good grief. No such thing is taking place. No, this is normal levels of migration. It is sustainable. And it is good for our culture, for all these people to come into this country, isn't it? Yes. And there's not too many of them. Oh, wait, what? They could double it and would easily absorb it. Easily.
Yes, I'm sure. And when people say they're going to save money on these councils, what happens is they still have the same area. It's just one council. It's having 2 councils looking after 2 areas. It's one council looking after the same area that 2 covered. So they'll probably need, and that includes all the schools and the buildings. So they'll need the same number of cleaners, the same number of gardeners and pothole fillers, if they've ever got such a thing these days. They've still got to pay all those, and they've still got to have the same number. But because of the way it's bigger, instead of having 2 CEOs, one in charge of one council and one in charge of another council, they end up with 5 sub-CEOs and 1 CEO to manage everything. So it gets more expensive. The more people you have, the more expensive it gets. And that's how it goes.
I don't think that our beloved and non-dictatorial Prime Minister Keir Starmer is anticipating any great increase in the population. Otherwise he'd be expanding his infrastructure and, allowing people to build nuclear power stations left, right, and Chelsea. Oh, just a second. Hang on. Something in the Telegraph. Starmer, I'll sweep aside NIMBYism, not in my backyardism, effectively, to build nuclear reactors all over England. Now, you know why that is, don't you? It's because he likes people to leave the lights on all day. That's why he wants us to...
No, actually...
I can't think of any other reason. Can you? Why he would want to build more nuclear power stations and centralize control of government, removing democratic accountability, because otherwise, just in case people get a bit angry. But no, there's no reason. Yeah, it's all good.
I like nuclear reactors. I like these small modular nuclear reactors.
I know that. You slept next to one.
Yeah, I know. I slept next to one, so there's no problem with that. And so what you've got to do is just you just have them, but there's no need to force them on people. You just make the argument. Nuclear reactors aren't going to give everyone 2 heads. Well, not for the first year anyway, as far as I'm aware. But if we want modular reactors, just make it part of the planning process and just convince people. If you just tell them what you're saying is, come on, net zero isn't working. It's going to be far too expensive. We haven't got a base load anymore because we're getting rid of gas. The only thing left is nuclear. Do you want heating, lighting, and cooking or not? If you do, then you can have a reactor. If you don't, Richard, if you don't want to do those things, then we won't let you have a reactor and you can starve, freeze, and die, basically.
Well, what about that 200 years worth of coal that's underneath our feet? Does that come in? Could we use that?
We could, but it's fossil fuels. It's dangerous. It will bite you.
Yes.
They don't want to use it. So if you're not going to use fossil fuels, not gas, not coal or anything like that, and the wind stops blowing and the sun stops shining, you've only got a battery left. The batteries, I think someone did a calculation, the largest battery on Earth at the moment, a huge battery, would keep the UK economy going for, I think it was something like 7 seconds.
Well, that's not
because
bad,
it can't store enough energy.
And
people talk about. Sorry,
that's pretty good. 7 seconds. Just build more of them and stack them up high. You could even get people to. Years ago, people used to build houses on bridges. Why not build one on a giant battery?
Yes, I know.
Kill two birds with one stone. Use it as a roof. Yeah,
you're making a ridiculous statement about net zero there, and you know it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was being disrespectful to the
and thank you again, Idofler. Thank you again,
Yeah.
Idofler. We all need to take the council to the ombudsman. Yeah, I think we do actually. Yes. 7 seconds. Oh, someone says 7 seconds. That's massive. I mean, I may have got that wrong. Even if it's 7 minutes, it's our economy is huge. And a lot of people haven't actually worked out. I did this maths years ago. When they first mooted all this, we would need to generate 5 times as much electricity as we can today in order to power ourselves fully electrically with all our transport needs and all the rest of it, and all our heating and cooking, everything, 4 to 5 times more electricity generation than we have today. And so what do? We put a load of windmills and solar panels up and think that'll do the job. So at night, when the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine, you don't get any. And if you think that's wonderful, then great on you. That'll leave the power that nuclear reactors generate for the rest of us. And if you don't like nuclear power, you've only got one thing to do. That's go back to clean burn fossil fuels. And by the way, it's quite strange that a lot of people call them fossil fuels when they found that now which moon, one of Saturn's moons, has got more hydrocarbons on it, more fossil fuel on it than we have here on Earth, and that's one of their moons. Now, judging by the atmosphere of that particular place, it might have been Titan, I can't remember now. Judging by the atmosphere on that place, there were never any dinosaurs there.
You don't know that.
So much fossil fuels. Yes,
I know.
You
don't know that. There could have been dinosaurs there. We don't know. There could have been, yeah, the famous dinosaurs of Titan, wasn't it, or wherever? Yeah. Yes. Anyway, so the way I'm looking at it, Jeff, though, is back to point here. All these nasty people are saying that Keir Starmer is a dictator and that he's cancelling democracy. Don't people trust Keir Starmer? What's the matter with you? You'd swear he'd lied about, winter fuel, the heating bills and the waspy women and council tax and all these different things. Of course he hasn't lied about them. He was honest and straight about them, wasn't he? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, this would be a good one. Can Elon give Starsmy, Reeves, Millie, Cooper, Rayner a ticket to Mars on the first rocket? Well, the thing they'd do is they'd go and set up their communist regime there first, wouldn't they? And try and tell the Martians how to live. Something like that, anyway. Yeah. Now, remember that Labour touted all of this, all of its plans about reorganisation as bringing power and accountability to a more local level. So do you see this happening when they take all the power from the local councils and give it to super councils that are further away and higher up the food chain than you are, with a super mayor, one of these metro mayors with power over the emergency services, the police, and all council operations and local education? Do you really think that you have any power other than, just like MPs in Westminster, to tick a box once every 5 years? Put your cross in the ballot box. And remember, you can only vote for red or blue because everything else will destroy the NHS.
Yeah.
And that's how we get it all the time.
Yeah. Just reading this here. So the comment you did mention. Can Elon give Stamsy, Reeves, Miliband, Cooper a ticket to Mars on the first rocket? Yeah, but there is a danger in this, you see. Can you imagine what would happen if there is life on Mars? And the first people they encounter are Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer. Can you imagine it? It's like, take me to your leader. Okay, so I'll be your leader. And here's Rachel as well. And Rachel Reeves comes in. Hello, I'm Rachel Reeves. And so just 2 minutes. Why do you both sound exactly the same? The first thing the alien would ask, the Martian would say, you sound identical. And then there's Angela Rayner. Raving away. Yeah. The first thing she would do is set up a nightclub on Mars. I have no doubt of it. Yeah. Oh my goodness. And the thing is, the reason I say this in jest is, look, these are our representatives, okay? How does this look? How does our government look in the eyes of people around the world? How do other people view us? It must be terrifying. They'd be like, you poor you-know-whats in the UK. What has happened to you? And I'm hearing this more and more. I'm hearing from different commentators from around the world. They are genuinely terrified about what's going on here in Britain. I can't understand why, of course, because we all know things are all tickery-boo, all's going to plan, and everything's all good and yeah, Jeff.
Now, isn't it funny how the Tories are a bit quiet about all this at the moment? They aren't actually jumping up and down about it. And it's Reform UK that pointed out that it's the Tory councils who were going to suffer a bloodbath of an election in May at the hands of Reform UK are now going to be spared the pain because there's going to be no elections there. You'd think there was a Uniparty conspiracy going on, wouldn't you? I wonder.
Yes. Well, I have heard that some Lib Dems are not too happy about this either, because you've got Labour voters there who are falling to the side, and a lot of them will never vote Tory or Reform. We know that. Usually middle class, I would say, in that respect. But they'll be heading over to the Lib Dems, and the Lib Dems have soaked up a lot of seats. We mustn't forget that. They didn't do too bad in the last election. I know my area here in the Brecon area, we lost. Didn't we lost a Tory MP was set aside and a Lib Dem entered. Both useless, completely useless. But there we go.
Yeah. So what we're actually going to get out of this, believe it or not, what we're really going to get out of this is more career politicians, the likes of Sadiq Khan, Nicola Sturgeon, and Mark Drakeford, all sat in these metro mayor positions, specially chosen by their parties, destroying all they touch, with all the executive power, as I said, over council, police and emergency services in their council bailiwick. Do you really think that's great for democracy? Because I don't.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I'm feeling very strange about it. I always used to say that I like my democracy to be one pitchfork away.
Yes.
That is democratic accountability, apparently. But I do worry, though. I do worry that people will start to get a little too agitated, because I think things could get a little bit tasty coming up soon. We've just watched people in this country, okay, get sent to prison for hurty words, a few little hurty words on Facebook, okay, whilst hardened, seasoned criminals, dangerous people, were released. Okay. Then you find out that those people who have been put into prison are, or should I say, they do hold similar values to most of the people in this country. All right. So all of a sudden you have a government which has alienated the people of this country. And people are angry. They get angrier and angrier and angrier. Then you remove their democratic the democratic process for these amalgamations into larger super councils, which will, by default, take away democratic accountability, or push it away further, I should say. And, oh my goodness, they're getting ready to pop, I think. The more people I speak to, I do hear uncomfortable language, and I'm talking about a broad spectrum of people, good, decent, normal people, who I'm just hearing saying, I think things are going to get a little bit naughty. I'm like, oh, yes, I hope not, but there we go.
Laird Kilbarkan says the Uniparty is a far-right conspiracy theory and is therefore 100% true. And I couldn't agree more. Yes, yeah, it is. You can see it. When you look back at everything that's happened, the changeover in this particular general election, everything the Tories were doing has suddenly been taken on by Labour, but boosted up, been fed some steroids and boosted up, like the Chagos deal. They're still forcing that through. And as an aside on that deal, wouldn't it be strange to find out if there had been at some stage or other a high-ranking Chinese spy operating with the hierarchy of some of the government and the royal family as well, and maybe had real nasty dirt on someone, and then they pushed the government over the barrel and said, hand that lot over or this comes out. Surely that can't be true, but it makes you think, doesn't it? And there was there a spy recently? I can't remember.
No, there most certainly wasn't a Chinese spy linked with the British royal family, especially, and definitely not with the King's brother, Prince Andrew. No, that didn't happen.
Yes. And believe it or not, all of these plans, these local election plans, you look at it, with mayors and all the rest of it, it all seems to dovetail unerringly into the European Union model of local government control. Anyway, I think we've said enough on all of this.
Absolutely,
and, so all I'll say is, on that note, it's good afternoon from me.
And it's good afternoon from him. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody.